Well, it's time once again to have a look back at the Booker Prize. This time we're going to be looking at the year 1970. Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Dave. Welcome back to another video and welcome back to Wilde Reads. This is the continuation of my series of where I look back at previous year's Booker Prizes. We are up to, or this video, we are up to the year 1970. Now, before we go any further, I want to say a quick word about the rule change that happened this year. So the first year that we covered, which was the Booker Prize of 1969, covered books that were published in 1968. The books we're about to go through, which were entered in the Booker Prize in 1970, were actually published in 1969. Now, after this prize was announced, there was a big change in the rules, which meant from 1971 onwards, books that were published the previous year weren't eligible, and they would only consider books published in the year of the prize, which meant that dozens of books that were published in 1970 weren't actually eligible for the Booker Prize until many years later someone spotted this, and they had a special award called the Lost Man Booker Prize, which considered novels that were published in the year of 1970. We shall cover this maybe in the next video, or certainly in a future video. So this is the actual Man Booker Prize of 1970. I hope that was not as confusing as I thought it sounded when I was saying it. But anyway, so let's get on with this prize. So a quick word about the judges. Quite an elite judging panel for this one. So David Holloway was the chairman, Lady Antonia Fraser, Ross Higgins, Richard Hogarth and Dame Rebecca West. They are our judging panel for 1970. 6 books on the shortlist. On with the book. So 6 books on the shortlist in 1970. The first one, published by Hogarth Press. This is John Brown's Body. This is by A.L. Barker. Maurice Tomilty is a child wife who dislikes sex and is terrified of open spaces. Ralph Schilling, a dealer in pesticides, lives in the flat above the Tomiltys. One day, Maurice's travelling salesman husband casually mentions that he recognises Ralph as John Brown, the suspect who, for lack of evidence, was acquitted in an atrocious double murder. Nevertheless, Maurice encourages Philip Ralph's attractions, intoxicated by a heady mix of passion and fear. So that's book 1 on the shortlist. Book 2 is published by Cape, and this is Eva Trout by Elizabeth Bowen. Orphaned at a young age, Eve has found a home of sorts in Worcestershire with her former schoolteacher, Islet Arbles, and Islet's husband, Eric. From a safe distance in London, her legal guardian, Constantine, assumes that all's well. But Eva's flighty romantic nature hasn't entirely clicked with the Arbles household, and Eva is plotting to escape. When she sets out to hock her Jaguar and disappear without a trace, she unwittingly leaves a paper trail for her various custodians and all kinds of trouble that follow. So that was Eva Trout by Elizabeth Bowen, published by Cape. So the third book on the shortlist for the 1970 Booker Prize was Bruno's Dream by Iris Murdoch. This was published by Chatto and Windus. Set in London, the novel tells the story of a dying man called Bruno and his family, narrated in the third person that allows for multiple character perspectives. It follows Bruno, Bruno's son Miles, Miles's wife Diana and her sister Lisa, Bruno's son-in-law Danby, Bruno's nurse Adelaide, Nigel, the messianic figure constantly found in Murdoch's novels, and Nigel's twin brother Will. The novel ends with all the different people coupling up in ways you would not expect. Just a quick note about this novel. The very famous literary critic Harold Bloom listed this in his book The Western Canon of 1994 as one of the books in his conception of artistic works that have been important and influential in Western culture. And the writer A.M. Wilson described Bruno's Dream as one of the most distinctive and successful novels that Iris Murdoch wrote. Okay, so the next book we have on the shortlist of 1970 is Mrs. Ekdorf in O'Neill's Hotel. This was written by William Trevor. and published by The Bodley Head. Now, William Trevor I'm familiar with now because I read a story of William Trevor's last year called Love and Summer, which was very good, and I have another book of William Trevor's called The Story of Lucy Galt. But on with this one. This one says, what was the tragedy that turned O'Neill's Hotel from a plush establishment into a dingy house of disrepute? Ivy Ekdorf is determined to find out. A professional photographer, she has come to Dublin convinced that a tragic and beautiful tale lies behind the facade of this crumbling hotel. So the next book on the shortlist, this is called The Conjunction. It's written by Terence Wheeler and it's published by Angus and Robertson. In India, 1962, the year of the Conjunction began triumphantly with the liberation of Goa, the fragment of territory under foreign rule, and ended in the nation's degradation at the hands of Red Chinese forces in the Himalayas. The astrologers were right, and the conjunction of all the planets brought disaster. The conjunction is a speculation on how power passes from one generation to the next, and how one buries the other. So that was The Conjunction by Terence Wheeler. That was published by Angus and Robertson. The winner of the 1970 Booker Prize was The Elected Member by Bernice Rubens. Norman is the clever one of a close-knit Jewish family in the East End of London. Infant prodigy, brilliant barrister, the apple of his parents' eyes, until at 41 he becomes a drug addict, confined to his bedroom at the mercy of his hallucinations and paranoia. For Norman, his committal to a mental hospital represents the ultimate act of betrayal. For Rabbi Zweck, Norman's father, his son's deterioration is a bitter reminder of his own guilt and failure. Only Bella, the unmarried sister, still in her childhood white ankle socks, can reach across the abyss of pain to bring father and son the elusive peace which they so desperately crave. So that was the winner of the 1970 Booker Prize. So that's it. That brings us to the end of another video. Whatever you're doing this week, enjoy your books, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday for another BookTube video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.